Hello, Slate Warrior here with another card discussion, and this one that I'm going to be talking about today is in fact not a new card. This is going to be a very old card that I personally believe may come back and claim a spot in the meta in the upcoming formats. The card that I'm talking about today is this card in the top left corner, Magic Drain. Magic Drain is another one of your generic spell negation cards, much like Magic Jammer and Dark Bribe, except because of the way that Magic Drain works, I believe that it could have a spot in the meta in the upcoming formats. I think that you may have to watch out for this card. I've seen it in some deck profiles online. I've seen people teching it, and because of how this card is set up, I think that it could find a space into the favorable cards in the eyes of competitive players. So for those of you that don't know Magic Drain, it reads: when your opponent activates a spell card, they can discard one spell card to negate this card's effect, otherwise negate the activation of their spell card, and if you do, destroy it. So it negates their spell, but if it doesn't negate their spell, they have to discard a spell card. So no matter what, which of those two options they take, letting their spell card fizzle or negating Magic Drain by discarding a spell card, you're going to be going one for one. You're going to be using one card to get rid of one card no matter what. And I believe that there are some cards that are being used in the meta right now, namely Upstart Goblin and MST, Mystical Space Typhoon, that we may want to negate. Now I'll get to the other cards that I want to talk about later, but these are the cards that are generic, basically, that every deck is running, or most of the decks are running today. Upstart Goblin is being run in many decks, with the whole Hovening trend, and MST is a staple as Heavy Storm's been banned for a little bit. But before I get into that, I'd like to talk about why Magic Drain is going to be my choice over both Magic Jammer and Dark Bribe. Okay, so Magic Jammer is a -1. Your opponent activates a spell, you discard a card, plus you have to use Magic Jammer, so you use two cards to get rid of one card, and that just doesn't cut it. I mean, maybe back in the day when, cards like Monster Reborn and Cold Wave and, even further back, like Painful Choice even, people might play Magic Jammer to, because I know this card's really old. Magic Jammer is even older than Magic Drain, so maybe people play Magic Jammer to counter those cards, but today Magic Jammer just does not do anything good, in my opinion. There aren't enough spells going around that are that powerful that Magic Jammer, would be needed to 2 for 1. No, you don't want to do that. Alright, the next card that I want to compare to Magic Drain is Dark Bribe, which is also, it's a +1 to your opponent. The upside of Dark Bribe, though, is it can also negate traps. But we've got stuff like 7 tools and traps done to do that. But this is about negating spells, not traps. This video is dedicated to Magic Drain, and the reason that I think Magic Drain is better than Dark Bribe, like I said, Dark Bribe gives your opponent a +1. It can negate spells and traps, but your opponent draws a card, and you destroy and negate their spell or trap. But this card just doesn't see play anymore, and for good reason. I don't like it. I mean, you could use it against that's actually some really next level meta right now. Is if your opponent activates Upstart Goblin, which like I said is running completely rampant in the meta. If you have a set Dark Bribe, definitely you want to activate your Dark Bribe in response to Upstart Goblin. I mean, there's no reason not to. But besides Upstart Goblin, there's no spell that you would ever want to negate with Dark Bribe. Magic Drain, yes. Okay. Okay, so anyway, as I was getting to, the splashable, that's what I'm going to call them, the splashable cards that are spells that can be negated by Magic Drain. The cards that I think that you guys might want to negate with Magic Drain are Upstart Goblin, which like I said is just giving your opponent that 1 for 1. You get 1,000 life points, but if you don't need the 1,000 life points, you don't want to give your opponent that advantage, go ahead and Magic Drain it. MST, obviously they target before you'd activate your Magic Drain, so if they target a spell or a face down spell trap that you do not want destroyed, or a face up spell trap that you don't want destroyed. I don't know why I said face down. You can go ahead and chain your Magic Drain. It's just that extra protection against those MSTs. And finally, Dark Hole, which a lot of decks aren't running. I'm going to be making a discussion video about this later. Okay, so basically, the reason that I think Magic Drain could be good is because to negate Magic Drain, they have to discard a spell. And a lot of decks these days aren't running spells. A lot of decks play 3 MST, 3 Upstart. That's their entire spell lineup. You know, 3 Upstart, 2 MST, 3 MST, just 3 MST. So they'll have that much lesser of a chance to negate your Magic Drain. So that's why I think the Magic Drain could be really big in the upcoming formats, because I don't see very many decks that are going to be good that run tons of spells. And next I'm going to be talking about some archetypical spells, 2 of them, that you might want to negate with Magic Drain. Firstly being a Wingbeat of Giant Dragon. Okay, so I personally strongly dislike this card. I think that it's overpowered. I think it's very overpowered. And the only reason that it's overpowered, you know, it seems pretty, you know, seems pretty balanced. Return a level 5 or higher Dragon type monster you control to the hand. If you do, destroy all spells and trap cards on the field. You know, there's a pretty big cost there. You have to take a level 5 or higher dragon, which, you know, should already be hard to summon, and then you get to, you know, the huge payoff of destroying all spell traps on the field. Now, the reason that you would want to negate this card with Magic Drain is because it's just so annoying when you're playing Hieratic Rulers or Hieratics and they use it with Tefnuit, which is, you know, the go-to combo. You special summon Tefnuit, and then you destroy all the spell traps with this, and then you can special summon it again. I mean, all the major Hieratic Ruler decks that are topping are playing this card, and a great counter to that would be Magic Drain, in my opinion, because, you know, they lose their you know, they still keep their Tefnuit. They keep their Tefnuit, but they lose their ability to destroy all the spell traps in the field, and, you know, probably proceed to OTK you, because that's the kind of deck they are. All right, the other one that I would like to talk about is Obedience Schooled, which is a TCG exclusive, and it's, you know, it's mostly played in the Raccoon deck. And the reason that I want to talk about these 2 archetypes in particular is because they, again, like I was saying, they don't run very many spells. So they have a pretty low chance of meeting the negation cost of Magic Drain, you know, by discarding their spell, because they don't run very many. Obedience School reads, if you control a monster, special summon 3 level 2 or lower beast type effect monsters with different names from your deck. Their effects are negated and they are destroyed during the end phase. If you activate this card, you cannot special summon for the rest of this turn except beast type monsters. Okay, so this is pretty much the only reason that Raccoons are even a deck right now that are even, you know, doing anything. So, you know, if you stop their first turn Obedience School, that's a big advantage right there, you know. Unless they have 2 in hand, you know, whereas they would just activate it again. But if you can stop that first turn Obedience School, you will be very well off against them throughout the rest of the game. Alright, finally, I want to talk about 4 upcoming cards that, you know, they're just gaining popularity now, or they're not out and they're going to be gaining popularity. Firstly, Soul Charge. Everybody's talking about this card. It came out in Dragons of Legends and TCG. It's really overpowered. It reads, target any number of monsters in your graveyard, special summon them, and if you do, you lose 1,000 life points for each monster special summoned by this effect. You cannot conduct your battle phase the turn you activate this card. You can only activate 1 Soul Charge per turn. Okay, so I say it's overpowered. I don't think this card's like ban-worthy or anything, but it's definitely a power format. Excuse me, power card in the upcoming formats. And I think that if they have a, you know, a plan with their Soul Charge to just go ahead and, you know, set up for their next turn OTK, you know, go ahead and Magic Drain it. And if they don't have their, you know, discard, obviously, it's a big advantage. You know, they were going to be going +2 or +3 even, and you just stop it. So I guess that means that, you know, they won't lose the life points, but I guess that means, you know, if you chain Magic Drain to Soul Charge and they were going to summon 4 monsters, I guess technically you're going +3 because they didn't get their special summon off. Next is Supply Unit. Supply Unit is a card that is being tested by a lot of people in Scraps, Fire Kings, X Sabers, decks like that that have effects that destroy their own monsters, or want their monsters to be destroyed in the case of X Sabers. Basically, when it says once per turn if a monster you control is destroyed by battle or card effect, draw 1 card. So, you know, you don't want them to be gaining huge advantage off of their own monsters being destroyed, so you go ahead and activate Magic Drain in response. It's pretty self-explanatory. If you don't want to be seeing your opponent use Supply Union, I mean, I just Magic Drain it. It's another card that, like I'm saying, is going to be pretty powerful as a spell card this upcoming format, or in a couple formats. Next is Shaddoll Fusion. Shaddoll Fusion is the main, it gets the boss monsters out for Shaddolls, which are a deck that aren't out yet. They're coming out in the Duelist Advent / Alliance. And basically, without this card, Shaddolls just kind of stall. They have their effects that, you know, activate when they're sent to the graveyard and flip face up. So if you can negate their Shaddoll Fusion, they'll be set back another few turns, and you can, you know, go ahead and poke for that damage. Shaddolls are always, you know, a slow duel if you're playing against Shaddolls, because they've got all these stun effects, and if you can get rid of their Shaddoll Fusion, they can't get their big effects off, and you might be in a much better situation for the rest of the duel. And finally, I'd like to talk about Sylvan Charity, a Primal Origin card. Sylvan Charity says, draw 3 cards and reveal 2 cards in your hand, including at least 1 Sylvan card, and place them on the top of your deck in any order, or if you don't have any Sylvan cards in your hand, reveal your hand and place all cards in it on top of your deck in any order, and you can only activate 1 per turn. So this card is the draw card for Sylvans, and it's coming out soon, and it will be immediately impacting the meta, because Sylvans get a huge boost from this card. Not only is it, you know, obviously a Graceful Charity copy, which, you know, Graceful Charity's been banned for forever, but if you can stop your opponent's Sylvan Charity play, they won't be able to draw, and they also won't be able to stack their deck, which, of course, they could later excavate those cards that they stacked to get their effects. You could stop the huge pushes with just 1 Magic Drain, and Sylvans don't run very many spells at all. Sylvans will run their field spell, they're going to run the Sylvan Cherries, and possibly some MSTs, because they don't want to be excavating all their spells. Most of them play 25 plus monsters, so there aren't going to be very many spells that they could use to negate your Magic Drain. If you can stop their Sylvan Charity, that is a great way to gain advantage in the duel. Alright, so anyway, what do you guys think about this card over here, Magic Drain? Do you think it's better than Magic Jammer and Dark Bribe? Do you think that it is going to be meta? Do you think that people are going to start playing it? Like I said, I've been seeing it in deck profiles. I've been seeing it online. What are your guys' opinions? Make sure you comment below. As you know, I love comments. Like this video, and you can favorite it if you liked it that much. And subscribe to my channel if you're not already, YouTube. Alright, thanks. And play Magic Drain.